Donald Trump has said his former strategy chief Steve Bannon lost his mind after he lost his job at the White House. The president has denied Mr. Bannon had had anything to do with him or his presidency after he was quoted in a book describing a meeting between Mr. Trump's son and a group of Russians as treasonous. Steve Bannon gave the scathing verdict on the meeting between the now president's son Trump Jr., his son-in-law Jared Kushner and a Russian lawyer at Trump Tower. The Russians had offered Donald Trump Jr. damaging information on Hillary Clinton at the June 2016 meeting. Ousted Donald Trump aide Steve Bannon brands campaign meeting with Russians treasonous. Mr. Bannon's quote appears in a new book by journalist Michael Wolff called Fire and Fury, Inside the Trump White House. Today Mr. Trump said in a statement, "Steve Bannon has nothing to do with me or my presidency. When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind. Steve was a staffer who worked for me after I had already won the nomination by defeating 17 candidates, often described as the most talented field ever assembled in the Republican Party," he continued. Now that he is on his own, Steve is learning that winning isn't as easy as I make it look. Steve had very little to do with our historic victory, which was delivered by the forgotten men and women of this country. Yet Steve had everything to do with the loss of a Senate seat in Alabama held for more than 30 years by Republicans. Steve doesn't represent my base, he's only in it for himself. Lawyers for the president sent a cease and desist letter to Bannon on Wednesday. They said in the letter, Bannon had breached an agreement by communicating with Wolff about Trump, his family members and the campaign and made disparaging remarks about Trump and his family. Steve Bannon told author Michael Wolff in an extract seen by The Guardian, the three senior guys in the campaign thought it was a good idea to meet with a foreign government inside Trump Tower in the conference room on the 25th floor, with no lawyers. They didn't have any lawyers. Donald Trump Jr. claims he did not tell his father about meeting with Russian lawyer. Even if you thought that this was not treasonous, or unpatriotic, or badass, and I happen to think it's all of that, you should have called the FBI immediately. The U.S. president was hurled into a row last year over his son's now infamous meeting with the lawyer, Natalia Veselnitskaya, in June 2016. The meeting is being investigated by special counsel Robert Mueller amid claims of Russian interference in the U.S. election. When the meeting first emerged, a statement by Trump Jr. claimed the pair primarily discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children, which was not a campaign issue at the time and there was no follow-up. Yet bombshell emails released by Trump Jr. himself showed he was hoping for dirt on Hillary Clinton. Told by an aide that he would be offered official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary as part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump, he replied, "If it's what you say, I love it." Right-wing chief strategist Bannon was given the boot in August after a review into the handling of white supremacist protests in Charlottesville. Bannon's hardline Breitbart News and Opinion site had helped garner support from the alt-right.